Hi, everyone. Today is Saturday, March 21st, 2026. Welcome. I'm Jeffrey Morgan, and this is a talk I host twice a week to discuss my experiences on the path of soul transcendence. This offering is brought to you by the movement of spiritual inner awareness with the encouragement and support of my friend John Morton, who holds the mystical traveler consciousness, which is the spiritual consciousness that does the work that we're doing here today. If you're new to the call, the format is simple. We're going to start by calling ourselves forward into the light, which is calling our awareness forward into the light of God that's already present. And then we're going to chant three Anai hues. Hue is an ancient name for God, and Anai invokes a quality of empathy and compassion. Then we're going to play a video clip from my teacher, John Roger. And then I'm going to do a reading from really the oldest hymn in the Christian faith, one of the oldest book of hymns called the Odes of Solomon. And I'm going to read Odes of Solomon number 12, a more modern kind of translation of that, but I think it's shows an incredible esoteric dimension that I think you'll appreciate in clear references to the sound current of God. So with that, I'm looking to see if I'm not okay. Wonderful. So if you'd like to gently close your eyelids, and if after I call on the light, you just drift off into beautiful spiritual exercises, just let that go. That's much more important than whatever I'm going to say here today. So, beloved Father, Mother God, beloved friend, we call ourselves forward into your love and light and sound. We ask once again for the light of the Holy Spirit and the light of the Christ to fill, surround, and protect us so that only that which is for the highest good will take place here. We open ourselves to receive at this time of the presence of Spirit, to receive of any healing, clearing, awareness, release. And we do ask that any karma or negativity that can be lifted be taken into the highest realms of light and dispersed into the nothingness from which it came. We ask for this divine light of the soul to be even more present as we step forward in kinship and learning, gathering in one accord. We ask for the energy and presence of John Roger to infuse all that we're doing in this space, that through this action of the Spirit, we may know ourselves even more fully as the beloved. And that spiritual form of greatest truth within us, we invite it to step forward even more fully in our lives, in our comings and our goings, that we may see through the eyes of Spirit, that we may listen as the soul, that we may hear with the ears of Spirit, that everyone we touch and everyone we contact in this life be blessed. We ask for a special blessing of peace that surpasses understanding, first to travel to any part of us that may be in dis-ease or imbalance. We ask that any againstness within us dissolve gracefully into pure and overwhelming love. that it overflows from within us, and that this peace that surpasses understanding permeate the entire planet. We ask for the wisdom to see God's perfection in all that takes place in our lives and in the world. That we continue to see and acknowledge the blessings that already are. And we are so grateful, for we know that to be so. And above all, we know that your will is done. And for this, above all, we give our thanks. And so it is.
I'm wondering if you're feeling better now that you've been up here for a bit working with us than you were before you came in.
No, very frankly, I feel a hell of a lot worse because all the junk's coming my way. Now, if John Morton got up here, I'd feel a hell of a lot better because some of the junk would go his way.
Really?
Don't throw it over my side. Throw it that way.
Feeling better?
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Are we feeling better or not? Yeah. Okay. We're feeling really pretty good.
Okay. So do you still want me to work with introductory material, or shall I actually get to the question?
Well, make it easy on yourself.
Okay. Would you talk to us about the silent ones and whatever there would be that you might share about them?
No, would you like to try another question?
Okay.
That was really hard. That's not easy. How do you talk about something that never talks so you don't know if you're right or wrong?
Hey! I just raised my hand, you called on me.
First of all, the silent ones are part of a different manifestation of God's creation than what angels or humans or Devic realms come to. They're different form. And if you were to see one move, you'd have to watch it probably 1,000,000 years before you'd see any movement. Because theirs is not a movement field, theirs is a being field. So they just be. They would look an awful lot like a triangle. Maybe the type that, let's see if there's one over there, the type you might hang on a Christmas tree. And they have kind of a color of alabaster. and they move their viscosity according to what's going on in any particular energy field. And their jobs are really to hold and maintain. And it only takes a few, one or two, maybe three, to handle all of this universe and everything that's in it, or will ever, 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 ever be in it. So a silent one is God's creator. When God spoke, it was not the silent ones who spoke, but were the silent ones who amplified the content of that. Because when God spoke, he didn't need anybody else to speak for him. So the message of the speaking is already done. They probably wouldn't go back to redo anything, because the very presence of their specialty and their beingness is a constant maintenance of perfection. Now, usually perfection by itself is constant, except most things that we look at as perfect don't move. Statues, paintings, things that move, have any kind of movement, river, wind, snow, water, animals, will not be able to enter into perfection, because they're going to be falling apart. They're going to be deteriorating, and there's going to be a lot of maintenance for that to happen. The silent ones, because of their maintaining ability, gives the absolute appearance of purity. But there cannot be absolute purity in any of the lower levels of creation. Because pure is not a designation as much as it's a maintenance process. And so we're maintaining the process, or stabilizing all the universes and the galaxies and the solar systems. It's done by God's whim. It's like God may go, and it's already being done. So before God can give a command, the very nature of the wish, or the presence of God's energy, is amplified through the silent ones and becomes absolutely manifest in the most pure state that can be had at that place of manifestation. So it's an agreed upon process to have perfection, but maintenance is something that in the very beginning is established to always be. And because of its establishment to always be, it always was. You following? So when something always was, then you have to watch your vocabulary terms, because you can't go from a state of wasness into a state of beingness. You can just ride on the perfection of maintenance. If we can maintain and keep ourselves at a certain level of perception, then we are perceived as perfect. But it's a perception of perfect, not perfect. So it's a maintenance of perfection. So we have a very hard time understanding, how do I become perfect even as my Father in heaven is perfect? Well, if you look at what he made, you understand the Father in heaven isn't perfect. And that they're referencing him as one of the lesser gods that performed the task of bringing all this together. So that pretty much takes that and puts it where you can look at it. There's not too much you can do with this information. You can think about it a great deal, but it's not much of a doing process with it. It's more of an enabling. You enable it to take place. So we have to come to a higher state of reference and hitch our wagon to that star, if you will. and then let that star lead us into the higher heavens. And the leading of that star is the Christ.
Okay. This is my version of Odes of Solomon 12. It was written in a bit of an outdated form of English, so I've modernized it slightly, but haven't really changed the content. So just that's my disclaimer. If you look for it online, you're probably going to see one with more of a Shakespearean English to it. So, Odes of Solomon 12. And it's just, to me, it's astounding. Like, if this is the earliest kind of Christian hymn, in a sense, hymn book that's out there, it kind of paints an interesting picture of the kind of experience and kind of teaching that was going on before things got very orthodox. Um, okay, Odes of Solomon 12. He filled me with the living truth so I could give it voice. Truth poured out of me like a river, and what came from my lips carried his life. He opened me from within with his knowing, because the Lord's own mouth is the true word, the doorway of his light. And the Most High gave that word to all creation, to make his beauty known, to sing his praise, to bear witness to what rises from his heart, to carry his meaning, to call his servants back into alignment. The word moves too swiftly to measure. Its force, its clarity, its reach cannot be contained. It does not fail, it stands. No one can trace its descent or map its way. What he brings forth reveals what is in him, for he is the light, the first awakening within. In him, creation found its voice. Even what had been silent began to speak. From him came love and deep accord, and all things answered one another with what they had been given to say. They were stirred by the word and came to know the one who made them, because they were gathered into harmony. The Most High spoke, and his own self-revealing moved quickly through all things. The word makes its home in the human being, and its truth is love. Blessed are those who let that truth open everything for them, and who come to know the Lord through it. So again, not the original language, but when I looked up, you know, early Christians using the word mind is probably not what we mean by mind. Like, let the mind that is in Christ Jesus be in me. I don't think they meant let the way, Jesus thought as a human mental form be in me. I think they were thinking about something higher, like an intelligence. Okay. Hi, everyone. And I just want to make an announcement that uh, if you are new to these talks, or new to Soul Transcendence, or new to spirituality, or new to sharing with me, I will give you priority. So please raise your hand. I'd love to hear from you. And even if you don't have much to say, just to put your name in the light or put yourself in the light, just feel that burst of loving that comes from this group. That would be wonderful. I also wanted to announce that there is a newcomer event today in the afternoon. I'm going to post the link to that newcomer event. It starts at 1:30 p.m. Pacific at Prana West in what we're calling the Prana Light Center. So I'm just putting the link here right now. And if you have a friend who's new to this work, or if you're new to this work, we really want to make space for particularly people who have never been exposed to this type of thing. Whom I.love is an initiative that we're doing that's really supporting seekers on their own path. And without any agenda, without any pressure, just giving people resources to have a spiritual experience. So there you go. And part of that event would be uh, a somatic experience as well as a sound bath where we're actually doing a meditation that mocks up those levels of the sound current that we talk about in the movement of spiritual inner awareness. So it'll be a really fun, immersive experience if you'd like to send somebody our way in the LA area. We also have a lot of virtual offerings. So if you're not in the LA area, whoami.love is still a useful resource for you. Okay. Without further ado, uh, we'll go with Carol.
Okay, hello.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for calling on me. And I'm nervous, and I'm very new. I am in discourse number 4, and
Congratulations.
thank you. And I was being a little more diligent, and I've kind of fallen off, but I was encouraged by some MSI friends to raise my hand, so here I am. Um, so I've been super emotional lately, like I'm practically, like even right now I could just be tearful, but there's
You can do that, by the way. That's okay with me.
okay, I mean, so there's some turmoil going on in my family,
Uh-huh.
and then I was here on Tuesday, and the discussion about grief. I mean, not like I forgot, but my dad passed away November of 2024, and he had dementia, and we
Mm.
were very, very close. And dementia in my heart, I mean, felt like it injured our closeness. I mean, he became very suspicious and thought I had done things that I hadn't done. And I mean, and my mom just passed away about 4.5 years ago from COVID. And but this turmoil in my family, I think it is just, I mean, it's
Well,
like,
just while we're on your father, do you want to go back into those moments and just maybe bring some love and some light?
sure.
Because my hypothesis is since the relationship with your father's inside of you, there's really no reason for you to look at his cognitive decline or behavior level on the physical as indicative of loss of relationship with him. And if he was suspicious of you, it's very possible that he was clearing karma and completing action. And in many ways, you allowing him to be suspicious of you and go into that drama was a great gift that you gave him because he probably needed to complete that. We look at dementia and Alzheimer's as a defect. And indeed, there's a lot of research and a lot of great work and a lot of physical things that we can do on this level to help prevent it. So it feels like an affliction because it makes life a little bit more difficult for those around that person and for that person. And it can be very scary for that person, to say the least. But I think it's important that we also understand that if that was allowed to happen, there is purpose in it. It was part of that person's curriculum. It was what they needed to learn and what they needed to experience in order to complete on this level for this lifetime. So it's not like the dementia was a defect in the sense that it shouldn't have happened or that it was wrong. It's that it gave you both the opportunity to work experiences. And then on the soul level, you have the relationship that's untouched. It's there regardless. And that you love each other. And then that love is universal. It's just huge. And I know I'm giving you a lot of information and you may still have hurt inside of you, but I wanted to get first the idea in there. And then I'd love to go in and just if you visualize a moment that was very difficult when he had dementia and maybe if there was a single moment with he was accusing you or something like that.
And it actually came to me second-handed sometimes. He's thought because I was in Connecticut and he was in Florida. And so I know, I mean, he blamed me for certain things like losing his driver's license and then, going into assisted living and then memory care. And I mean, he just
Yeah.
so a particular moment. I when the last time I saw him physically, was really beautiful. And I mean, I was down there and I I mean, and he could get, on rants and I would stay while I could. And then when he got, really agitated, I would leave for an hour or so and then and then come back. But I don't know. So right now I'm just remembering the beauty of that.
Yeah, see, that's the truth. And if we connect into the essence of a person and really see that beautiful loving that they are, it's normal to cry because that's when you're in the presence of something infinite, you just fall to your knees. It's too much. It's like the wonder of it. It's an overwhelming loving. And
Mhm.
if we connect into that sweetness, that goodness, that spark of divinity in the person, it's like we can't see it's like the rest of it is there and we accept it and we recognize it, but that's not the basis of the relationship and we can stay connected deeply in that.
Yeah. Okay.
And
That
by the
makes
way,
sense.
discourses or and we'll post a link for those anybody on the call who's not on discourses. We're going to post a link about signing up for discourses. But I don't know if you've noticed, Carol, but discourses are not about the words on the page. I mean, the words on the page are super useful, but it's the dreams that you have. It's the energy that you feel around you.
Yeah.
It's old hurts getting kicked up to be cleared.
Yeah.
It's like you're plugging into a field of energy that's going to work you into greater realization of who you truly are. And the tricky part is you're you're going to have to shake off some of the stuff you've accumulated along the way, including stories that you may tell yourself about. I mean, even saying our relationship deteriorated during his dementia, I don't think that's true. I think dementia was a time for you to hold the light for him in a different way, and you got to experience serving him differently than you used to.
Mm.
And that's a privilege.
Mm.
That's like, how could I possibly show you and demonstrate to you a higher level of how much I love you? I'm going to sit by and hold the light while you rant at me, and I'm going to love you through that. So, if anything, it was like that period of your life was not a deterioration. It was the opportunity for you to demonstrate just how deeply you loved him.
Mm.
But again, it's like we tell ourselves the story about it.
Right.
And me is like guilty as charged. It shifts how we get how we experience it. And the truth is we talk about in Soul Transcendence, the secret of soul transcendence. Look only for the good in people and things, which is the divine, and leave the rest to God.
Mm.
Now, one could listen to that and say, "Oh, got it. So I'm not. It's like hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, right?" Well, I
Mm.
have a different interpretation. It's actually seeing all of it and then having the wit and the attunement to see God's perfection within it. And it may be in the midst of the rant, you catch his eye and you just see that one glimmer and you
Yeah.
go, that's God right there.
Yeah. If I can, I mean, so the last, and I felt like I didn't do enough for him, but the last
Oh, don't say
commun
that. That's so silly.
but in the last communication, there was a care plan meeting, and he had been falling asleep. And I have a grandson who's 2.5 now, but he was just a baby. And my father got to see him when he was like 6 months old, and his head was down, and the women were saying, Mr. Barron, lift your head. And he looked up and he kind of saw me. He smiled and he said, "The baby." Talking.
Oh, I,
He,
yeah.
so it's beautiful that I'm remembering the beauty right now.
And the truth is, we have the opportunity through this consciousness to get to a point where even the messy bits, even those memories that are very difficult, we can bring the loving. If we wish there was more loving in a situation where he was yelling at you, just bring the loving into the situation he was yelling at you. You get to a point where even the messy experiences bring you into the remembrance that this person at an essential level was loving and nothing else. That there's nothing else that's really going on except that loving.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that.
I think it's
Okay.
wonderful that you're on discourses. And I think the one thing I would caution you is like, I think it's good to have a habit of reading discourses, but it's also not something to beat yourself over the head with. It's like, yeah, do one a month and for sure. And if you
Mhm.
start reading and you drift off while you're reading, go back to it and read it. It's like you may absorb very little of what you read, but it's in the reading of it that that connection point is happening. And some people get real obsessive and go, oh, well, maybe I need to read this like 4 or 5 more times because I need to get all the information. Look, the information is gold, and you can
Mhm.
reread discourses later. But this
Mhm.
first point is just, it's like, make sure you get that contact, make sure you hold that book, make sure you read that book, and that you get through the booklet and read every word before the end of the month. And that's really enough. If you were kind of out of it when you were reading, or you were kind of like being pulled out of your body, and maybe you start reading and you get pulled out of your body, so you just do SEs or spiritual exercises, that's good too. I mean, I
Mhm.
think I think there's a tendency, because we get programmed and conditioned around things like religion and experiences we may have had previously, that there's rules or there's structure. There is, in our community, there are things that we find that work, and reading discourses one a month is one of them. And then people go, well, why can't I read 2 or 3 discourses a month? Well, my experience is you get this thing called spiritual indigestion, because each of these discourses is designed to work a different part of you and activates and moves a different part of you. And if you do a lot at once, you may you may create a very uncomfortable situation for yourself
Mhm.
that demotivates you a bit in continuing to do it.
Mhm.
And so I think there's also this thing called trust the intelligence of your own spiritual essence, and the way in which this entire experience is curated for you for upliftment, growth, and learning. And it's like,
Mhm.
and I say the same thing about spiritual exercises. It's not to beat yourself over the head with it. It's to do it because it works. It's to do it because it's a gift to yourself. And if you
Mhm.
can only do 5 minutes, start with 5 minutes, and then
Mhm.
make it 6 minutes the next time, make it 7 minutes the next time. Just microscopic steps that you can take that support you in developing that inclination inward. Everything in the world is designed to externalize you. Everything in the world is designed to pull you into what's going on out there. This work that we do is very much pulling you in here, pulling you up here, and out.
Mhm.
So we go inward and upward and out.
Okay.
And so I would just say it's more, and people get so mechanistic about it. It's like, don't forget to stop and enjoy the process. There's an energy with discourses, and there's an energy that you experience with spiritual exercises. If you can just take a moment and feel the difference in the quality of the energy, and actually getting those reference points, like really acknowledge that for your basic self. You did SEs, even if you did 5 minutes, you just put your hand on your heart and just say, wow, I feel very different from when I took the time to do 5 minutes of spiritual exercises, or 10 minutes, or 15. And now I feel totally different. Take the time to acknowledge this was really a gift to me.
Mhm.
I mean, that's how like, for me, the big shift was, it was like I had this obligation, like I had to prove something to somebody that maybe I'm spiritual. But no, it's like, a lot of people wander through the desert of information and psychic stuff and gurus and everything else.
Right.
And this is the juice. This is the real stuff. It's like savor it, enjoy it, love it.
Hmm.
There's no rush,
Right.
but just love yourself with it because it's like it's such precious experiences, especially in this beginning. There might be a lot of shifts. You might have some interesting dreams. A lot of stuff might get kicked up. And then when you get to have your physical, like, anchoring of an initiation for the first time,
Mm.
that is, I mean, to even be present when those occur is, I would say, like one of the greatest privileges on the planet for me.
Mm.
And then we do this thing called ordination, where when you're an initiate, you may decide that you want to really devote yourself. Like initiation, in a sense, reaches up into spirit
Mhm.
to actually shift the reference point and the level of holding and kind of acceptance and receiving that your soul will do on each of these levels of light and sound that you would have been reading about, the physical, astral, causal, mental, etheric, soul, and some 27 levels above that and beyond.
Mhm.
Well, when you do become a minister in the movement of spiritual inner awareness, which is another option, that's it's almost like that as you're reaching up, this other energy of service of God's light that comes forward through your body, through your life pattern to do God's work in this world, to do service.
Mhm.
And that doesn't have a specific form. It's not like you go wear an outfit and oh, you're a minister, you got to wear this outfit and do this whole thing. No, it's not that. It's that you have this awareness that you are here to be of service in whatever way God will use you or the Spirit will use you, which may be just taking care of yourself. That might be the highest service you're doing, but that you have that intention and that availability and that willingness to be used. So that's an option that's going to be available to you. And I realize
Mhm.
you're only on Discourse 4, but we feel like old friends, so I'm telling you all this.
So, with the turmoil in my family, I'm not a part of the turmoil, but I'm the hero of the turmoil, and it's really distressing and disturbing. And
Yeah, so it's distressing and disturbing because maybe you're framing it differently than it needs to be. When you hear about it, it may be just you go inside to wherever the turmoil is, because there's no such thing that turmoil you like when you said that it's somebody else's turmoil, but you're experiencing turmoil, it's your turmoil that you're experiencing.
um,
So if you go to the place of the family drama and you bring in the light and you just see yourself almost like a light worker, or you could bring in the
mhm.
Christ, or you could bring in John Roger, John Morton, you bring them into that scene and you start healing everybody involved. You start seeing the light pouring into them. See, a lot of times when a problem comes to our mind, we assume that it's our job to ruminate about it and to try and solve it with our mind or to be upset about it in order to commiserate with other people in order to feel connection and closeness. I actually shifted that for me, and it's more if something is brought to my attention that's of a negative nature, it's asking for my love and light and presence with it. So instead of going into solving it, I just see the light pouring into the situation and healing everybody involved. And the greatest way we can be of service that I find is that if we can bring a peace that surpasses understanding into our consciousness, where we see the perfection and the beauty and the loving, even in the turmoil, and we can see a transcendent beingness of each person involved that is transcendent of the drama and the ebbs and flows of the karma. Just holding that vision, holding that truth, holding that image is so incredibly powerful. So that can be the greatest gift that we give somebody if they're going through something crazy. All you do is see that they are taken care of, see that God loves them. See, you hold that where you hold them inside of you and you go, I know that you're fine. I know that God's got this. And when you bring that peace then can extend into others around you. And just by talking to you, they'll feel healed. It's that old adage, right? Peace begins with me. And to me, a lot of the work in the world in terms of a peace process or in terms of things that we do to advocate for better things in the world, a lot of that falls into the realm of karma. Some people have a karma to go out and picket. Some people have a karma to go out and be a freedom fighter. Some people have a karma to go out and help people physically and be a nurse or something.
Mhm.
I don't fundamentally see that as the peace process in a sense. That external manifestation is simply the world doing its karma, which also involves what we judge to be peaceful, just as it involves what we judge to be negative. The peace process is primarily and solely a process of individual transformation into a state of peace, or more accurately, peace is always present. So it is a state of awakening to the peace that is present and then resonating at the frequency of peace in a way that others can participate in. So, in a very simple sense, I would say that I don't believe in world peace. I believe in individual peace that is scaled globally through individual connection and loving.
Mhm. Makes sense.
I don't know if this is all helpful. It's just
Yeah,
a
it
lot of
is.
information, but
Yeah, but I'll go back and listen to it again.
I think the more you work with you and get to a place where you feel unconditionally loving and in peace with yourself, that is
Mhm.
such a great service that you do for the whole universe. It's like if you can just get to that place of peace inside of you, you will be
Mhm.
doing your family a great favor. And then you can hold the light for them. And you would have just read about holding the light, right? The,
Yeah.
being a light worker and all that. So you holding that light for the family is such an incredible, powerful thing to do. Just to hold an unconditional loving and see the light pouring into each of them and just seeing them each getting healed, even down to a cellular level. If they're dealing with disease, if they're dealing with conflict, if they're whatever it is, just see the light trickling into every cell of their body and illuminating them. Just you doing that will move mountains, honestly.
Thank you. That's all very beautiful.
I hope that helps.
It does a lot. Thank you.
And enjoy the discourses. My
Yeah,
goodness.
I
What a
am.
pleasure. What a joy.
Yeah, it really
Grateful
is.
to
I'm reading about acceptance right now. I like that.
that is the first law of spirit and probably the most important thing I work on. Wow.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
we're
Thank you.
grateful to have you here.
Yeah. And thank you so much for all you do.
Yeah, I just do what's in front of me. God bless you. Okay, Patty.
Oh my gosh. Thanks, Joyce. Joyce was sending me light that you called on me.
Okay.
Um, we were texting, but I've already been helped to a large degree. Um, so there's again, it's a family disturbance situation, and so the last sharing was really helpful. I want to have a little more specificity on how it can be of service to myself and my husband Anthony, who's on the call. This is about his daughter. I'm not going to tell a huge story. She's 32. She's got a 20-year drug habit, on and
Okay.
off, on and off. No healing, no programs. she was doing really well a year and a half ago. We bought her a car. She lives with her mother. And she told me last week, she's snorting meth once or twice a day. And she's an 11-year-old. So we took the car away, not as a punishment, but we did not feel that this was safe. And she also let her insurance go, let everything lapse. So she's not able to take care of this. And so we took the car away, but there's a whole circus at her house with her mother and the stepfather, and they drink. It's just all, I drink too, but like it's crazy town. Um, and so she won't, because she's co-owners with her father on this. Her father has some cognitive issues. So I'm kind of the project manager handling everything. Uh, and we want to get his name off the title. So she won't sign the papers to allow us to sell the car. And her stepfather wants to buy the car. And we don't want to sell it to them. We don't want to enable her to drive at all unless we told her she could have the car if she went to a 45-day treatment program, came out of the program and, got herself back, but she refuses to do that. So it's just in a real stuck place. And, I'm trying to be patient with it. Sometimes I am, and a lot I'm not, because I'm just,
Yeah.
I have so many other things, big things I'm dealing with. And I don't know what this karma is. I will just share one thing. When she was 8, she was such a beautiful girl and so full of big energy, stubborn as anything. She was at the kitchen table with me, and she said she got all of a sudden went from joy to like fear and scared, and she got a little teary, and she said, "What will my life be like when I grow up? What will I have an okay life?" Like almost she could see it, what she got into. And I said, "Oh, you're beautiful, you're talented, you're smart. Don't ever do drugs, but you can have a great life." And it's just kind of haunting. But so I just would be open to any wisdom that you could help us just to get the damn car, but just to how we walk through this. I just want to get away from it. I want to get the car and get back to the rest of my life. But if there's any wisdom that you have with her father, Anthony, her name is Kayla, her mother, Susan, her alcoholic stepfather, Dave, Grammy, all these people that, I'm the one who has to interface with them and mostly, and it's just a circus. So if you
Yeah.
have anything to share, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah. I've not had a lot of success controlling other people myself.
Well, I'm sure trying. Yes,
Yeah, no,
me
I'm just
neither.
letting you know I don't have a lot of evidence to suggest I can control other people.
Right.
And I also don't have a lot of evidence to suggest that I can control their karma or the flow of experiences or the karma of the planet. I think we do what we know to do or what's clear to do inside of us physically. And it's very clean if we're not acting from an ego position or a story, but we're just saying what's true, what's mine to do, and what's true, and going with that. Now, I won't have an answer for you in terms of how to fix the physical circumstance. The only way I work with the situation you're talking about is I work with each and every one of those people inside of me until they are free. You have a meth addict inside of you with an 11-year-old child who doesn't
Mm-hmm.
pay their car insurance. You have that inside of you. How do I know that you have that inside of you? Because that's what you're experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
That's who you're
Okay.
relating to inside of you.
Mm.
Just because somebody's a drug addict does not mean you have to relate to them as a drug addict. You
Hmm.
can you
She's
can make
beautiful. I mean,
you can make physical decisions on the basis of their behavior level, knowing that they're not responsible to do certain things, or that's called just
right.
being smart with your 10% level.
That's what we were trying to do with the car. Yeah,
Right. That's responsible.
right.
But you could still be relating to that beautiful 8-year-old girl. If that's more accurate to who she truly is, you can relate to that person even now. But again, it's about how do you hold them inside of you? You are burdened by an alcoholic stepfather. You're burdened by, like, you go down that list, that's who you're carrying. Now you could
Yeah,
be carrying beautiful children of God, but that's who you're carrying.
yeah,
You have an alcoholic stepfather inside of you.
yeah. Oh, yuck. I don't want to do that.
But that's my point. Like,
Yes,
but that's how,
yes,
because you're
yes.
relating to
Thank you.
them as alcoholic
Yes,
stepfather, you're relating to them as behavior. You're not relating to them as the
yes,
divinity that they are.
yes.
And
I
by the
can get
way,
there.
you're not getting accurate information because basically, if we tune into the behavior level of a person and try to get information about what's for the highest good, we're always going to be working within a field of distortion called karma. Because karma is action and behavior is action. So what you're talking about when you talk about someone's behavior is you're talking about somebody's karma. That's not the source of truth. The source of truth is that soul, that spirit that they are. And what we can do to clarify that is to make sure that the one that we're holding, it's like if you're talking about the stepdaughter, it's like the one that you're holding is just that beautiful, energetic, stubborn, beautifully stubborn, strong-willed, lovely being. And that's who you
She
relate to.
is.
That's the only person that exists. The rest of it is just the karma that they're working. Now, you can have consciousness of the karma that they're working and go, it looks like you're doing addiction karma right now, and that you're letting in a lot of entities and things that I don't necessarily want around me because it actually interferes with how I take care of my, and I have a lot of responsibility with my husband and what he's dealing with. So I don't really have the energy to be responsible in both places. So I'm going to give you your space right now. That's being responsible
Right.
in the 10% level, but that has nothing to do with how I hold them.
I get that.
So
I do go in and out of it, and thank you for this, but it's really easy. Even the crazy stepfather, it's really
no, but
easy for
it's not
me to
about
see them being God, to
no, but
see their beauty.
I think it's a different dimension because I think it's bringing them in and doing forgiveness and taking ownership of that. If you have an alcoholic stepfather inside of you, it means that there's a past life where you were the alcoholic stepfather doing exactly that behavior. And you get what I'm saying? Like you are all those
Yeah,
things. And as soon as you forgive and accept, as soon as you
yeah,
make like do you understand? I don't have to physically support somebody doing meth in life. I can tell them, I really would prefer that you didn't do meth. Does that mean that I have to decide that methamphetamine and methamphetamine use are outside of God's loving? No. I
yeah.
can love her just as much as a meth addict as I can as
Yes,
her as like a model citizen. There's no difference in God's consciousness. There's no separation. So the key is actually getting to a point where you see the meth addict and you are in love with the meth addict in you. Do you understand? Not in love in the
yeah,
sense that you physically promote the behavior, but as you don't
right.
see the difference, you say, I love you, and all I see
Yes,
is that loving that is you. And you're doing,
yes,
and this is loving doing math.
yes.
But you see, it's a
What the
different
piece?
dimension than because you're saying, when you say that you drift in and out of it,
Yeah,
what I'm saying is there's always an in and out of it when you decide that there are loving and unloving parts of God's creation.
yeah.
If you
Okay,
decide that
that's
part of
good.
God's creation is unlovable, then you're going to spend your life and by the way, you have in your own life placed a lot of pressure on you to not be the thing that is unlovable. because when you were growing up, you got the signal. There are certain things that are lovable and certain things that are not lovable. And you spent your life trying to avoid those things that are not lovable by over-indexing on those things that are lovable and meeting the requirements and doing the things and pushing yourself and achieving and doing the, you see? But
Called
it's,
perfection, huh?
yeah, no, that thing, yeah.
That thing. Yeah.
Your old friend.
Yeah.
But actually, the key is if you can integrate the wholeness of it and say that is all within God's loving. And then how you choose to behave physically becomes, Lord, what would you have me do? Or I'm not accountable to the personality of this person. I'm accountable to their soul. So you go to their soul and say, what would be of greatest support for this life plan for the highest good of all concerned? And by the way, you may not like the fact that you have this karma that entangles you with them, but the truth of the matter is there's no, it's not like, oh, it's not my problem, it's not my, obviously you attracted this.
Obviously.
This is part of your curriculum, this is part of your work.
Mhm.
You might as well fall in love with it and fall in love with the messiness of it. It's like there's this
Yeah.
wonderful, one of my favorite books in the whole world is Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. And there's a portion of that book where he is totally in love with the son that he didn't know that he had. His this woman that he had been with before died and left him the son, and he was taking care of the son, and he was a boatman, and the son was very unhappy because he was used to a life of luxury and he was very spoiled, and he runs away. And Siddhartha just goes absolutely nuts chasing him, just absolutely in the messiness of it. And he had not yet fully achieved Buddha. He'd achieved peace, but he hadn't really gotten this Buddha consciousness going. Okay. And then he finally chases his son, basically trying to pursue him. And the son goes back to his friends, to gambling, to riches, to all that stuff, all the stuff that his son, the lap of luxury. And he sees his son and he sees this perfection. He sees the parallel. He realizes that he is now his father, who was horribly like just aching to have his son leave and go become a samana in the forest, right? And he saw this cycle and completion of this whole thing in his relationship with his father and sons, and he sees the perfection in all of it, and all of a sudden it's like he clicks into that consciousness. But he clicked into that consciousness not by avoiding the messiness of life, but by allowing the karma to really play itself out, allowing himself to see the full spectrum of the messiness and to fall in love with that. And to realize that
Mhm.
that too was part of this divine symphony that is this
Mhm.
creation pattern.
Mhm.
And I look at it, it's like, it's this radical perspective that goes, thank God for the argument. Thank God for the messiness of this.
Mhm.
Thank God for hard-headed meth addict stepdaughters. And
Mhm.
it's radical, it's different, and it's difficult, right? I mean, I watched this, there's this wonderful video from Ishwar Puri where he talked about the death of his son. And it was so interesting. So he talks about when he was a kid, and there was these Italian Buddhist monks who appeared at his door, and he decided he was going to go with them. So he goes to their place, and his father had to come get him because he knew he had a past life with them and the Buddhist path and the whole thing. Fast forward to the future, he's driving in Italy with his wife and with his son, and they get into a car accident on a winding road. It was like some truck that like kind of veered off, and the son dies, and they end up
Mhm.
burying him in a chapel nearby where because that's they had to do that whole process, and the gravestones right next to his sons without him knowing were the names of those three monks. And it just hit him, the perfection of all of it, so much so
Mhm.
that he did not suffer or grieve in the traditional way for
Oh.
the loss of his son. And his family was confronting him, going, look, people are going to think you're nuts. People are going to think you're crazy. You have to at least like frown, like, my God, like, what's wrong with? But he was seeing God's perfection, and he was so in love with his son and so in love with the perfection of all of it, and so in love with the transcendence of it, and the fact that his son had been in contact with a living master and it's like when we connect into the eternalness of our own beingness. We can observe the part of us that is aching for the one that is suffering that we perceive, aching for the daughter who's on meth, or aching for the 11-year-old child, or aching for the unfairness of things. But from the perspective of the God consciousness that is underneath all of it, you can't help but be filled with overwhelming loving.
Mhm.
And it's like you're too busy loving everyone involved to criticize and try to perfect it with your ideas of how it should be. Wouldn't it just be the craziest thing if meth was the most important karma for her to do in this lifetime to complete a past incompletion?
Mhm.
Wouldn't that be the craziest thing in the world? And you're busy shaming the
Mhm.
whole thing to realize God's
Mhm.
perfection is indeed in place here.
Mhm.
And this is not me saying
That's
do nothing, don't be responsible in 10% level. This is me saying there is no freedom in attempting to control the world. There is freedom in focusing on our God essence and placing that awareness in that space.
Mhm. That's really helpful. It's how I hold it.
If you can free that part of you that is in
Mhm.
suffering right now,
Mhm.
it will be
My, yeah,
your presence will be a prayer answered to her. If
like
you
I
can
can
just
see it.
free, if you can just free, like
Mhm.
totally free, like where you're neutral,
Mhm.
like even if she died from this, that level of neutral,
Mhm.
your
Mhm.
presence will be a prayer answered. You
Mhm.
will be the living prayer answered in her presence.
I believe that, and I can see that, and I have some work to do based on this conversation. And but I can see it. I can see it is and I you have to detach myself from I want I'm so attached to wanting getting my $10,000 back for the car. And I just have to go, maybe the car just sits in a lot for eternity and that's the end of it, you know?
Or, or maybe it was never your money in the first place.
Yeah, you're killing me, Jeffrey. Yes. Okay, I hear you.
There are people that get their wallets stolen and they are in that theft moment for years to come. They just can't let it go. When
Yeah.
all they had to realize was the money in their wallet was never their wallet. It was never their money. The money in their wallet was never their money. How do we know? Because they don't have it, right?
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
instead of freaking out about the money that was stolen from you and how what does it mean about me and does it mean that I'm stupid or does it mean that I do? Well, yeah, all of that. We're all of it. We're both stupid and smart. We're both smart. We're all those things. That's what it means to be a microcosm of the macrocosm of God.
Mhm.
It means that we have all of it.
Mhm.
But the freedom is in realizing all it means is that needed to happen and
And
that it was
everything
never
else doesn't matter.
your money in the first place. And by the way, since my wallet got stolen, dear Lord, please bless that person and whatever karma came or got completed through that action. Let they be blessed. Let they be touched by the mystical traveler. Let them find their way home to God as soon as possible.
Can I ask you a related question?
Sure.
So I've been taking this class on grief with David Kessler and grief and just because I feel like I have a lot of it.
Do you feel like you're
Well,
proficient at it yet?
at having grief or resolving my grief.
Yeah,
So
maybe that was the problem in the first place.
what?
Maybe grief isn't something to resolve.
It's not. Well, I'm learning that. But my question is when you get to that place of seeing the perfection in the messiness of life and karma, and then like grief is, it makes me wonder if grief even exists on that level. Grief is all the human level. Grief is a loss that you didn't want, you know? And so when you can get to that level
Grief
of,
grief is a reconfiguration of the lower self to a large extent. It's a way that the different levels of the consciousness below soul experience a different facet and a deeper facet of loving with that person while their identity, because a lot of relationships boil down to identity. Who you think you're relating to is really a part of yourself, and your big reference point was that other person physically. So in the absence of the physical reference point, your whole consciousness needs to recalibrate who you think you are. Now, if you
and
don't think
that's the
you're,
grief,
yeah, and if you don't
because
think,
you're lost your attachment to what was, or because, right?
because you have to
You're the
recalibrate,
identity, right?
there's like habitual patterns.
Right,
It's not just if I always hugged and kissed this person every morning at this time and then they're not there, that's going to be a feel like a big missing something. If I'm used to
right,
hearing that person's voice as a reference point for this experience inside of me,
right. Conditioning.
grief is a love affair and it's also a process of recalibration. And it's not really, it's necessary when it's necessary. So it's like you get into it when you get into it. But it's a lot like, for me, it's a lot like forgiveness. Like we talk about forgive and forget. In a sense, it's easy to say the words and forgive or to give some kind of mercy. It becomes very hierarchical, but for to me, forgiving and forgetting is actually moving into a state of awareness where you actually don't see anything to forgive.
Right,
And if you could say it
right,
in the context of grief, it is possible to reach a point where you see nothing to grieve for.
right. That's what I'm getting from what you were saying about the situation.
And that is why Ishwar Puri also, like, I love his videos, but Ishwar Puri also talked about the death of his father.
How do you spell his name?
Oh,
Ish.
I can type it out. He's a real sweet guy. You know, Lee Taylor Young actually interviewed him one time. It was the sweetest interview, and he said that
Oh, I know who he
we're
is.
just like, yeah. He said we're like cousins. You know, he's in a sound current practice very similar to ours.
I know who he is.
He's a
Yeah.
sweetheart. But he said when his father died, they were able to call their master, and their master confirmed that he had reached the soul realm. So they were sitting around, so they started dancing around the house celebrating on the day of his father's death, and everybody thought they were nuts, but they were ecstatic. They couldn't stop themselves. Now, I truly, when we really get to the point where we realize not one soul will be lost, when we see the immediacy and intimacy of that spiritual experience, that we are already in soul consciousness, we just need to bring our awareness to it. We do find that there's nothing to grieve.
Right.
We find, in fact, we find the grief process strange because the person feels closer to you than your next breath. How could I
Right.
grieve the loss of this person when they are so intimately connected to me now? And if anything, I have less of a physical distraction to get in the way of the real source of the relationship.
Well, the grief in a way can is a doorway to the loving, you know.
100% grief can be an
Yeah.
opportunity to realize the relationship was only ever inside of us. It's alive and kicking,
Right.
and it's based in loving and nothing else.
Yeah.
If you try to
Hmm.
solve for grief with the mind and the emotions, they are ill equipped because grief is a phenomena of the fabric of mind and emotions. It's the building blocks of your identity. So if you think about it, to what I've seen in working with people is grief is often based in identity. And identity as a matrix form the basis of, in a sense, how you think and how you emote from those thoughts. So it's almost like trying to do mental psychological work on grief doesn't work. You'd be better served to do spiritual exercises and allow the intelligence of your consciousness to just do the reset. And instead, what people do is circle back on the grief over and over and over, reliving the past and going back into it. And in a sense, they're stunting the process. They're inhibiting a natural intelligence that recalibrates and comes forward and just resets everything. And I've known people in the movement who have also lost someone like a wife or a husband, but they were at a state of such completeness and they just saw the soul consciousness of it all and that the person was already in spirit. And in a sense, if it's like if time and space are an illusion, we really don't have to grieve for the drug addict who's going to have to reincarnate because time is such a fickle thing. I mean, by the way, we don't know. JR has said you see the drunk on the street and you judge them, but that could be the last thing they do before they go to the heart of God. But number two, maybe all that was there for them in this lifetime was to experience the mystical traveler by way of this vessel, you, to get touched by the traveler, to hear John Roger or John Morton's name, to hear some of the teachings, to get connected in. And then within 4 lifetimes, they're off the planet anyway. You get what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
why do we grieve?
Right.
You could even go as radical to say, the moment Jesus Christ, through the process of crucifixion and resurrection, bridged and broke the system so that all of this karmic system and the way that souls are set up here is now directed toward liberation rather than bondage. There's nothing but celebration justified by everything in the cosmos right now. The world is going to do what it needs to do because it's on a creation pattern that is not deterministic, but let's say in a large sense, physically set in motion in the perfection of the plan. And there are moments where grace intervenes and spiritual energy, non-magnetic energy goes directly in and will change the plan. That's why folks like Edgar Cayce didn't predict accurately. They were accurate. He was accurate as to a possible future without intervention. But then you got someone like John Roger coming in and then all bets are off. So all of a sudden the pattern starts to shift a little bit.
Mm.
But this physical world is going to do what it needs to do. That's what we can say. But from a soulic perspective, it's a fait accompli. We're all going home now. Everybody's coming home. It's just a question of whether they want to take the scenic route or they want to take the expressway. We're doing the expressway, but I don't have a judgment of somebody who needs a little bit more scenery. It doesn't make a difference. There's no the Christ action is already happening. We are already in soul consciousness, and we already have liberated and opened up an inner kingdom of heaven that is now available to us to experience soul awareness. So it's like you see these people dying and leaving and doing their thing, and let the part of you that grieves grieve, for sure. But that's with anything. We grieve the loss of a parking spot. It's just called being human. So we care for and we nurture and we love the part of us that feels the grief or feels the upset or feels whatever we're going on. But we care for that from the perspective of the one that already knows that we are soul and we are divine. And we say, well, why do we do spiritual exercises? Well, look, doing spiritual exercises is an amazing tool for churning through karmas down here at an accelerated pace, which can also reduce the need to have physical experiences of the karma. You can have very moderated experience. So it's an accelerant for sure. But for me, the big important one is it really anchors a remembrance of our own authentic beingness. Because everything down here is designed to get you to forget who you are. And chanting God's name and connecting to the sound current is that force emanating from the heart of God that is reminding you that you are already spirit, you are already pure spirit, you are already God. So you do the spiritual exercises, you may find, I mean, I find it's so strange. The more spiritual exercises and spiritual work and all the stuff that I'm doing, the more that I do, the more I become not indifferent as in not caring, because it's a deep loving and care for everything. It's like it becomes ordinariness where everything kind of seems like the same thing, but everything seems kind of the same divine presence. And so you have more and more equanimity. The things, and even it comes down to the foods that used to be like, I get up in the morning excited to have a meal. I don't have that anymore. It's just the gift of feeding and caring for my body. The big sensual experiences in the world just don't interest me as much anymore. And you could say this is a boring, melancholic, and dreary experience. No, it's not that. It's actually a sense of wonder. I've given up spikes of wonder that come from the senses, the exterior senses, to have a common wonder for all of God's creation.
Mm.
And I think that's why we say ordinariness is a prior condition to God, because we start to see everything as, and in a very stupid way, it's like that parking spot that's in front of the store is the same as that parking spot that's 4 blocks away. You get to a place where you don't. I used to get really bent out of shape about that. Why didn't I get that spot? And if somebody cut in front of me and got that spot, or if I was taking a U-turn and they got there first, I get real bent out of shape. But more and more I go, oh, my body gets to walk. This is so good.
Mm.
I love that I can walk. But it's that wonder that comes with no memory. In many ways, memory is the basis of the judgments and the negativity that we exist. And so that's why I say forgiving and forgetting. You come in with a kind of forgetfulness where you're not past referent, you're not trauma referent, you're not anything referent. You're just in wonder as if you've seen this beautiful being for the first time. So it's like if you were to meet your stepdaughter for the first time, not the 8-year-old, not the other thing, but you just see God right there. This is the first time you've ever met her, and this is the most beautiful moment you've ever had with her, and this is the most important conversation you've ever had in your whole life. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about this presence. And you bring that to everything, even doing the dishes. Of course, my wife's typing into the chat, when have you ever done the dishes?
Sounds pretty great.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about it as aspirational pie in the sky or a should. I'm talking about it as it can be that way. I've experienced it, I've glimpsed it, I've maintained it, and I got karma flowing through just like everybody else. So I may maintain it, and then the negative thought comes in. I go, where did that come from? It probably came from your karmic reserve because now you're ready to clear that one.
Mhm.
But I return more and more. My default is having that
Yeah,
equanimity and that
yeah,
loving and that acceptance. It is so much easier to experience acceptance, cooperation, understanding, enthusiasm, empathy. It's so much easier to be in that from the perspective of what I'm talking about. It's literally the natural result of that
it is.
consciousness. But it's a different aspiration. If you go into grieving with an intention to resolve your grief, you're just going to cycle back through the grief over and over
Yeah, I'm
because
kind of
because
thinking
you've
I
made
don't need
it.
this class.
Well, I don't say that. I'm going to get a lawsuit. No. No, no, no. But what I'm saying is if you try to solve the grief, you're just going to get focused on grief and you're going to cycle back through it. If your intention is instead to get to a place where
Experience.
you are totally in love with the person and in a state of unconditional connection to them, where it doesn't matter if they're physically present, it's just so present and you love them,
Mhm.
That's a different aspect. We're going to get what we focus on, you know? We're going to get, if you, if you ask, you shall receive, right? So if we ask in a relationship, I want to resolve this conflict, that is different than saying, my intention is to get to a place where I love them so deeply. I'm totally okay with whatever they do physically, and I can just
Mhm.
speak to the truth of what's present for me, which maybe I don't get that it's clear for me to be around you right now.
Mhm.
But I'm not doing that from a hurt feelings or from a whatever.
Right.
I'm just speaking to the truth of what's present in the knowing.
Mhm.
It's a radical, what I'm saying is a radical perspective. It's a different perspective. And
Mhm.
candidly, I don't know if I've ever grieved the loss of somebody who's died. I don't know, like genuinely. I was laughing at my grandmother's memorial. People got mad at me. I was like 12 years
Mhm.
old, and I just saw her spiritually inside of me, and I was so complete. I mean, I spent a lot of my childhood, you know, watching her cheat at bridge and watching Michael Jackson movies with her and listening to Horowitz and having her read me Edna St. Vincent Millay. I was just complete. And that what I just described, I'm just as present with it.
Mhm.
I can still smell the scones that I would bring her bridge club while she would fleece these poor old ladies of their money. She was such a character.
Mhm.
I'm so present with that love for her right now.
Mhm.
I wouldn't even know the difference if she physically appeared in front of me. I would feel it.
Mhm.
The loving would be absolutely the same. I just wouldn't know the difference.
Mhm.
Does that
I have
make
that with my
sense?
gram too. Yeah, I have that with my 1 gram too. Every day. It'll every yeah, it yes, it's remembering. I hope I'm glad you're recording this because I want to listen to this again. And I just thank you for the extra time and for the amazing light and wisdom that you download and share with all of us and how you've connected us all together. And I'm just grateful at the elegance with which you hold spirit.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Well, thank you all for joining today. God bless you. I love you. Peace be still. The blessings already are.